Jalen Hasward, and my presentation that I wanted to discuss is how the integration of arts can assist students in their educational journey. I felt that this was a fun idea to talk about because it's kind of interesting to see that art isn't a common core curriculum in California's Common Core standards. I'm not too sure about the rest of the country, but I know where I reside in California, it's not. So I wanted to look at the pros and cons of it and how it could benefit students in the long run, specifically elementary students, but just students in the long run. So, to understand what art can help achieve, it's interesting to take a look at what a common day of instruction looks like for an elementary student. In the American public educational system, school days and the Common Core curriculum that follows students vary, but there is a general sense of what structuring may look like. Usually, it's a combination of structured learning, social interaction with their classmates and teachers, physical activity like PE, running, maybe doing a mile. It's usually pretty consistent because students just make results and we see progression with the routine and not switching things up all the time. Morning arrival or greetings, strong attention to core curriculum, breaks and recesses, lunches, and specialty interventions like vision or speech along with afternoon activities and dismissals are usually things you might see in a K through 5 environment, which is usually what elementary school age and level setting is. It can depend. It does depend on the student and the curriculum. Like I work in schools, for example, and I also work in the special education department. And while the typical structuring of the same day might be different, the whole idea is that you want it to be a consistent routine that doesn't alter too much because students love having routine and things that they can follow, things that they can be used to start their day off similar to yesterday and similar to the day after, and it just helps them with that independence of understanding like, hey, this is what I need to do every day to be a successful student. So when it comes to the conversation of arts, it's important to look at how that may look for a young student. Now, when I talk to students at my site and I say, what do you think art looks like? The most common thing that usually comes is a picture or a drawing, maybe of themselves or something. And that's not wrong. There's nothing wrong with that. That is what art looks like. Art is a visual thing at times. It definitely is. But art is also something that has a broad field. It's not just one simple thing. Art can be visual arts like drawing, painting, sculpting with clay, making collages, weaving. It's a lot of things that are popping to the eye. It can be something like music, which is something that so many students can relate to. You could ask a student their favorite song or their favorite artist, and they're going to come out and give it to you. They might also be talented themselves at singing or anything like that, and that's also an art form. Drama is a little more unseen in elementary students just because it's more of like the acting thing or reimagining things. It's still common though in things like playground play or just being a character in class, just having fun with it. Pretend play, acting out stories. Dance is also an art form that many students don't take time to think about. It's something that's fun. It's something that's talented and created, and it makes them have a good time. Art all forms at the idea of independence and recognizing those skills. There, I think hidden talents, even though it's not an official thing, hidden talents can be something in an art form. For an art show at my site, we had a student that can draw with their eyes closed, or one that can draw hanging upside down. I was like, that's super cool. That's also a way of art, just being able to do things outside of the box. Art has variety and enhances students' attention to their own individual capabilities. The importance of art comes down to their own attention to detail. A teacher could guide them all the way, but it comes within. It comes with them understanding what they may or may not like with art and how they can improve that or how they can just care to pay attention to it. So the next question is how can the arts be incorporated in core curriculum and also translate to personal enjoyment? So this is what I hinted at in the beginning. The California Department of Education's state standards focus on two subject core areas the most, and that's English language arts and mathematics. There is also a lot of integration for history and social studies. Art is usually something that teachers do on the side, or it might be an activity maybe once a week, or it's very commonly seen during holidays. Like, I'm sure we could all remember making Christmas crafts or something along those lines, or the Thanksgiving turkey hand. It's something that should be included because it focuses on independent growth, but it's not. It's good that students, can understand reading and writing and numbers because that's things that are going to follow them in life, in their academic journey, in the occupational journey. But art is also that because it follows those same things, and it's one of those things that really highlights independence and being excited at what a student can do on their own. The other common core subjects are true, but they need the assistance of an educator or a group of people that can teach those things over time. Art is something that you can get better and better at. It's like riding a bike. You don't just forget how to do it because you haven't done it in a while, like how math or ELA can be. It's something that can stick with a student. So I thought some resources are things that can help with making that more important, or at least more recognized with having resources, is teaching and assessing simultaneously, connecting art to key concepts. It's also important to empower educators and students to make them understand what that difference does with art and how much progression it can bring. And it's also just important to be attentive and mindful of the results of those assessments, and also just pay attention to independent knowledge when art is integrated into everyday academics compared to when it's not. I feel like you'll see two different kind of students compared to when they get the chance at least once a day to just enjoy themselves and have fun with creating something, compared to students where it's just work, 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 go, go, go. It can be exhausting for us adults. I imagine it could be just as exhausting for students. So the question next is, why is art so important for a student expanding their education? We talked about the what's. Now we need to talk about the why. So the most important thing to start there is understanding what art is. And Britannica's website defines art as a visual object or experience consciously created through an expression of skill or imagination. One of the consistent goals of Common Core curriculum is guiding students on how to express themselves and become self-aware of their skills. Like I highlighted earlier, you can have a wonderful teacher that will teach all the possible concepts that they know, but it's about what the student is capable of doing within. It's combining all the core understandings, the fine motor skills, and just bringing it into enjoying what it is, whether it's drawing a picture, dancing, singing. It all comes down to what the student is capable of. I thought Eric Jansen also highlighted some of the reasons in this book very well, because he also stated that art reaches students not normally reached. It helps students connect with each other. It also provides direction and challenges, because sometimes it's okay for a student to have that challenge or a competitive edge to want to push themselves to do better. And it also just connects students to a real world of work, or just the real world of personal enjoyment. Art is something that has made everything a reality around us. It's the blueprints or the architecture for houses, or the phones that we use, or the things that we read off of, like how you might be viewing this presentation on a laptop that was created with someone with an artistic idea combined with those who have the skills to make it a reality. Art is important because it fosters creativity, critical thinking, and problem solving skills, while also enhancing communication, cultural awareness at times, and emotional well being. These expand beyond the classroom and go into life skills, which is extremely important for the long run. So, the last thing to highlight here is what can be done to make art in schools more accessible and prioritized. A lot of the schools in California are tier one schools. The school I work at is a tier one school. That's usually just dependent on, maybe where the school's at. The funding is definitely a big thing, the income from the parents. And the reality of that is a lot of low end schools don't have access to those art supplies, whether it's laptops, computers, markers, pens, anything that can be made with art. Not having that accessible makes it that much harder to learn. It's hard to create something when you don't have it at hand at all. I wouldn't use the word impossible, but it takes a while, and it can make students fall behind in their creative independence. That's why you see such different test and assessment levels at higher up schools compared to tier one and lower schools, because of the accessibility of resources and staff members. So some solutions I thought to combat this problem are to provide scholarships and grants for formal art education. Schools and districts could also offer free or community workshops. They can invest in infrastructure and affordable internet access. They could communicate the clear benefits of arts education. It's important that that thing goes over well at home, because parents and guardians understanding what art and the independent factors of it can bring might make them more involved in the education and resources of the students. It should produce results, and it usually does. It also provides professional development. We can also have it provide professional development opportunities for teachers and have teachers build networks. Just communication and expressing ideas and seeing, what things can go well with expanding art and providing those resources for students and teachers goes a long way. Nationally, there is a teacher shortage on subjects that need that assistance. Art is usually the first one to go when it comes to school cuts and fundings, just because it's not a necessity, and that kind of thing needs to change. You're going to see a different student when they get to express themselves and have fun in the classroom. And then last but not least, these are my references. So Admin K's website just highlighted what an elementary school day in the life is for a student. Also brought in the Common Core state standards from the California Department of Education. Eric Jensen's Art with the Brain and Mind book, that's the one that we're reading this semester. He highlighted some great points that I had to mention in here. Every image and GIF that you saw in this slideshow was just provided from Shutterstock.com. It's a free website that does not need to produce royalties. It's just photo generated stuff for fun presentation that brings attention to the eye. And last but not least, Bright and Ika helped to define what art is. So thanks so much for listening to my presentation, and I hope you enjoyed it.